Bad boys, what you want, what you want, what you gonna do? When you shut the drum, don't come for you.
J Squad.
Hit me with the bass, bang. Hit me with the bass, bang.
American Hostile Championship Wrestling brings you Battle of the Bad Boys 2. That's right, the score has not been settled. But on June 8, 2019, Mark Southern steps in the ring again with the Missouri Bad Boys. Doors open at 6:30 with bell time at 7:30 at the New Madrid Eagles Club located at 410 US 61 in New Madrid, Missouri. All tickets are $12 and get $2 off in advance. Children 5 and under free with a paid adult. You can call Mark at 636-232-3313 or James at 573-359-8696. That's for advance tickets, guys. Also on the show, Maverick, Tom Cash, Iceman, Demarius Jones, and reality TV star, Power Pro superstar, Derek King with Just In Case. Their first match ended in no contest. Guys, it went all over the building and it was stiff. You want to see this. Don't miss this on June the 8th. Be there!
Mysterious Productions. Let's get spunky. What we gotta get your wet by using Let's get spunky tonight.
Shooting the Shiznit is sponsored by SpunkLube.com. SpunkLube is an award-winning personal lubricant that's fun. SpunkLube is available in 4 varieties: hybrid, pure silicone, natural, and pink. Place your order today at SpunkLube.com and tell them Shooting the Shiznit sent you.
Now me and her had been at it for a couple of rounds. When things got dry, man, I pulled out the tube. I gotta get her wet by using my Spunk Lube. Nice and smooth, wet and
Blue Chew can now offer you the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis at a fraction of the price, discreetly delivered to your door. No waiting rooms, no appointments required, no embarrassing face-to-face meeting with your doctor. You're just minutes away from a heightened sex life.
Use promo code STS. Get your first month free. All you have to do is pay postage and handling. Now on with the show.
Dirty Dutch Mantel is coming to Memphis. Championship Wrestling presents an evening with Dutch Mantel Sunday, June 9th at High Tone in Memphis. Dustin and Maria Starr will serve as special MCs while the legendary Dirty Dutch Mantel brings an adults-only night of humor, wrestling history, and drinking. Get your tickets now at ChampionshipWrestlingMemphis.com.
Tonight, Jerry Lawler, I'm going to prove when you mess around with hot stuff, you're going to get burned.
Tonight's the night that Eddie Gilbert starts to live up to his name. He calls himself Hot Stuff. Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make him real hot tonight.
If you ever try it again, I'm going to kill you, Jack. Do you understand what I said? Have I got to run you over with my car? You want to be nuts? Well, I can be a little nuts too, Daddy. So it ain't playing no wrestling games, Jack. I'm talking about fact. You're not throwing nothing in my face, and you ain't sneaking up behind and doing nothing to the superstar. Because I'm taking you out, brother, and I mean all the way out. And that's a fact, Jack.
In the Twilight Zone now! In the Twilight Zone! Yeah. Monday! Yeah.
Oh yeah, music to my ears. Son of a gun. Hello again, everybody. Lance Russell and Dave Brown, and we're right along ringside all ready to kick it off for another big day.
Hey guys, before we get started here on the new episode, I want to thank everyone for their kind comments. Me and Lance had a fantastic time recording all the AEW stuff. So thank you for listening. Thanks for the downloads. We do appreciate it. Remind everyone, we're in the Memphis in May. That's right, Memphis in May. Hashtag MIM. You'll be picked, hopefully, to win the loot box. It has all kinds of fun stuff, exclusive stuff right here at STS. All right, guys, let's get a sponsor in here, a commercial, and we'll get on with the show.
Hankey's Toys is the place for your adult toys. All toys sold on this site are made of the finest 100% platinum silicone. From the texture, firmness, length, and width, Hankey's Toys are designed to please. Hankey's Toys takes a lot of time and effort to develop each toy. Reach them on Twitter at Hankey's Toys. Search YouTube Hankey's Toys and see the unboxing of many of their products. Also go to www.mrhankeystoys.com. That's right, mrhankeystoys.com, and use promo code SHIZNIT10 at checkout for 10% off your order.
From STS Studios, I'm excited about this. I have waiting in the green room. He's going to come over and sit next to me. It's Blade Boudreaux. Blade, how's it going?
Man, I'm doing great, but I really didn't want to leave the green room. I mean, you actually had alligator and crawfish up here for me, so I was kind of excited when I walked in.
Oh, man, I love that. Just played right along, man. That's why he's been a worker for so long. I appreciate that. Me and Blade I don't even know if we worked any shows together, but we did hang out. I come back behind the scenes and stuff. But I don't know if, I was thinking about that. Maybe for Killer. We worked some shows with Killer before together, probably.
I believe you're right. Up there around the Gibson area, we did. You were managing a few of the guys that I had to get in the ring with, and I never really got my hands on you, but I come close a couple of times. You was pretty quick back then. So
yeah, I'm 50 years old now, and about 30 pounds. 30 pounds more, and that happens when you work from home. You can eat snacks and you can do absolutely nothing. But man, I want to start back just way back, because I've known you known of you for many years, but I don't know your story, man. I don't know how you got started, so that's where we want to start. So talk to me about the Little Blade and what you decided. How did you start becoming a wrestling fan?
Oh Lord, let's see if I can remember that far back. Because like you, I'm a little up in age myself, so it might be a little difficult, but. No, I started off watching Mid-South Wrestling. We got Mid-South Wrestling on Saturday afternoons, 4 o'clock, around the Morgan City area. I grew up watching Junkyard Dog, Mike George, the Samoans, Ernie the Cat Ladd, Bad Leroy Brown. And just kind of, once I saw a dog do the thump the first time, I was hooked. And then the characters were larger than life for me. And then, then we started slowly we got World Class on Sunday night. I can't tell you how many times I got in trouble for staying up past my curfew on Sunday night for school to watch World Class, because we didn't have DVRs and stuff like that back then. But it was a fantastic childhood growing up. My mom and daddy, every Friday and Saturday, they took me, whether it was to Lafayette, Morgan City, Home, Baton Rouge, wherever it was, we went somewhere to watch Mid-South Wrestling. I believe I said it on another podcast. I think I was making a loop back then and didn't realize I was making the loop.
Mom and Daddy, huge fans, so that makes it easy. My mom was the one that got me, taking me, so that makes it easy because they have the car. That's a good thing. So big, was you a big JYD fan? Was that who you liked the most back then?
I can remember I had pajama pants that I got in trouble for taking a marker and writing thump on each side of the pajama leg.
Love JYD in Mid-South. I was born and raised around the Memphis area, so Memphis was my bread and butter, if you will. And then Mid-South, when I discovered Mid-South, mainly I think it was right when Dundee had took over as booker, and it was one of the. I said, "Oh my God, they still have great wrestling somewhere else." And it was Dick Murdoch and Ted DiBiase, a tremendous match. Stuff that they did, and I love Mid-South wrestling. You can go back and watch some of that stuff, and the formula of them just doing what they did, just putting jobbers out there and taking an ass beating, is totally something different. But Bill Watts really would bring you into the matches, and you wanted to go out to. So you went to what 2 towns did you always go to?
I lived in Morgan City, and they usually had that on Sunday afternoon. But I'd also go to Houma or Lafayette on Saturday nights. Every Tuesday night, we went to the Civic Center or River Center or Centralplex in Baton Rouge. A friend of mine, his older brother was a big wrestling fan, and I talked him into it. He actually worked for my daddy, so I told my daddy, I said, you need to put the squeeze on him to take me to the wrestling every Tuesday night with him. And so we would go to the wrestling every Tuesday night, and just run around, and just chase the bad guys and hoop and holler at them. And I'll never forget one time I was hooping and hollering at Kamala, and he turned around and looked at us, and I remember running, and I twisted my ankle, and it just so happened. I guess the first time I met Kamala was probably a couple of, 10, 11 years ago. And I was able to share that story with him in the dressing room. I said, "Hey, you owe me a doctor's bill." He just started laughing about it.
I remember, Kamala being a huge deal in Memphis area and in Mid-South. And the first time I ever met him was just kind of weird, because I come into the dressing room and he's putting the makeup on, and there's your childhood sitting right there, and he's going and he's talking. Even though I'd been a fan and been a fan and got into the business for years, that was still kind of a surreal moment to actually talk to Kamala. He's just a super nice guy. But yeah, so how did you're a fan, you're a huge fan, and I personally think that wrestlers that were fans and they're big fans and they get into the business, I really think that I seem to bond better with those kind of guys. There's guys that are really not fans of wrestling; they just get into it and then discover it. And with you, what did you always think? Like you said, you put the pajama stuff on. Did you always say, "Hey, I want to be a wrestler"? And how did you get involved in the training and everything?
Well, yeah. Like I said, I always told my mom and daddy, this is what I was going to do. They always laughed, oh yeah, whatever. Because back then I probably weighed a $105. I was about 5'6", soaking wet. I didn't hit a growth spurt until I was about a senior in high school. But because before then they said they'll kill you in that. They used to tell me.
Right.
I never let it, faze me. So I graduated high school, and honestly, a friend of mine was playing softball. We was living in LaPlace at the time, and a friend of mine was about 30 miles away with playing softball, and she happened to come home, and she passed in front of the house, and we happened to be outside, and she told me about the wrestling event that was going to happen in Gonzales, and I said, well, hell, I'm going over there. I said, so I went the next day, and I met the guy, the promoter. They went by the wrestling name of Rockwaller, and I think his first name was Dave. I don't remember quite, honestly, but I said, hey, man, I want to get into business. Do you need me to do anything? Security, gopher, whatever it was, carry the ring jackets, whatever you want me to do. He said, yeah, come back to the event tonight, be here at such and such time. And I said, okay. Well, that night when I got to the building was Terry Bam Bam Gordy was on the card. Wow. Skandar Akbar, Jimmy Jack Funk, and also 2 Memphis guys were on the card, Big Bill, Big Nasty Bill, and Blackjack Daniels happened to be on the card. And like I said, once again, they go to the ring, I bring their jackets back, and, I remember Terry Gordy wanted a hamburger, so I went and got him a hamburger from the concession stand, and Skander Akbar come in and said, "Kid, come in." I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Give me a bowl of that jambalaya." And I said, "Yes, sir, I'll get you some jambalaya right quick." And so I got to talking to Big Bill and Blackjack and just said, "Hey," I said, "I want to get in this business. How do I go about it?" And Blackjack actually gave me Donnie Bass's phone number. And I said, "Okay, great." And so that was on a Saturday night. The next day I called Don Bass, got his voicemail. So I left him a message telling him who I was, I planned on doing, what I was going to do. And I said, and I asked him, I said, "Can you happen to send me the one ads, so I can try to find a job today?" He goes, "I got a place for you to stay. Don't worry about it. But somebody's moving out, so I'll have a spot for you. It'll take about 2 weeks." He said, "When you plan on coming here?" I said, "As soon as I can." Well, I was working construction at the time, so I went to the office where I had just got laid off from. We had just finished a project, so I went back to the office and just asked them. I said, "Hey, do y'all happen to have any work in the Memphis area?" And lo and behold, they had just signed a maintenance contract at a chemical plant up there. And I said, "We can send you up there." And I was like, "Perfect." So I called Donnie Bass. I said, "I can be there next weekend." And this is a week later. And so I called Blackjack back and thanked him for getting me Donnie's number and let him know what I was doing. I said, "I got to find a hotel." And Blackjack actually invited me to go stay at his house. So I got a place to stay. I had a job to go start training. And, so I didn't have really any kind of struggles starting my dream out, I guess you can say. I've actually just had stuff kind of fell in place for me. So then I go to tell my mom and daddy, I said, "Hey, just want to let y'all know I'm moving to Memphis and going to become a wrestler." And I'll never forget, my daddy was drinking a Coke and he spit the Coke out. I moved up there, stayed with Blackjack and his family, worked and then started training at night. I stayed with him about 10 days and then moved in with Donnie over there in West Memphis and started training. And that was around August of 95. And then December 8th in 95, I had my first match in Batesville, Arkansas. The promoter was Phil Hansen, and that's how it started.
I think everyone's worked for him in this area. That is a name I haven't heard in a long time. We're going to go to quick commercial. We'll come back. I want to talk about who was training with you, and then we're going to talk about Power Pro Wrestling. Give a real quick commercial.
Bad boys, what you want, what you gonna do when Chevy don't come for you?
J Squad, hit me with the bass, bang. Hit me with the bass, bang.
American Hostile Championship Wrestling brings you Battle of the Bad Boys 2. That's right, the score has not been settled. But on June 8, 2019, Mark Southern steps in the ring again with the Missouri Bad Boys. Doors open at 6:30 with bell time at 7:30 at the New Madrid Eagles Club located at 410 US 61 in New Madrid, Missouri. All tickets are $12 and get $2 off in advance. Children 5 and under free with a paid adult. You can call Mark at 636-232-3313 or James at 573-359-8696. That's for advance tickets, guys. Also on the show, Maverick, Tom Cash, Iceman, Demarius Jones, and reality TV star, Power Pro superstar, Derek King with Just In Case. Their first match ended in no contest. Guys, it went all over the building and it was stiff. You want to see this. Don't miss this on June the 8th. Be there!
Mysterious Productions. Ask is spunky. What we do? Gotta get your wet by using Ask is spunky tonight.
Shooting the Shiznit is sponsored by SpunKlube.com. SpunKlube is an award-winning personal lubricant that's fun. SpunKlube is available in 4 varieties: hybrid, pure silicone, natural, and pink. Place your order today at SpunKlube.com and tell them Shooting the Shiznit sent you.
Now, me and her have been at it for a couple of rounds. When things got dry, man, I pulled out the tube. I gotta get her wet by using my spunk lube. Nice and smooth. Wet and
Blue Chew can now offer you the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis at a fraction of the price, discreetly delivered to your door. No waiting rooms, no appointments required, no embarrassing face-to-face meeting with your doctor. You're just minutes away from a heightened sex life.
Use promo code STS. Get your first month free. All you have to do is pay postage and handling. Now on with the show.
Dirty Dutch Mantell is coming to Memphis. Championship Wrestling presents an evening with Dutch Mantell Sunday, June 9th at High Tone in Memphis. Dustin and Maria Starr will serve as special MCs while the legendary Dirty Dutch Mantell brings an adults-only night of humor, wrestling history, and drinking. Get your tickets now at ChampionshipWrestlingMemphis.com.
All right, back with Blade Boudreaux. Blade, I don't know if you actually mentioned it. You mentioned the towns you were in, but if the listeners cannot tell, you're actually from Louisiana, right?
Yeah, I'm from the Bayou, Louisiana. That's where I'm living back home. I'm back in Louisiana.
Awesome. Love the accent. So tell us, was there any, do you kind of go with, I did WrestlingRideOnline.com, and that's one of the reasons I brought you in, and also because you were, part of that independent area in the Memphis area, Empire Pro. So who was in that class with you? Because I know you were good friends with Derek, who's been on here a couple times.
Really, I mean, when I started training, it was me and one other guy named Tom. He lasted about 6 weeks, and then all of a sudden he disappeared. But then at the same time, here comes Tojo, moves down from Chicago, and he starts training. And he was actually living with Donnie. So me, Donnie, and Tojo lived together for a while and trained together for a while. And then Derek would come in every so often. Randy Rocket would come in every so often to help train. And then Donnie started bringing us to the buildings, and then I had the opportunity to work in the ring with Motley, who absolutely taught me a whole lot in this business. He's one of the best out there. If you haven't heard about him, you need to go watch videos of him. He's one of the best. But Derek, I think on previous podcasts, it's been mentioned, me and Derek were like married to each other for like the first 6-7 months we were in the business. And, we're still friends today, like Alan Steele and, Johnny Dotson was one of those guys that was in that class. And I mean, Lance Jade came a few months after me, him and Bobby Bronze. So we all kind of trained together and started working the shows together in the areas. I mean, I started my first program was with Derek, and it seemed like we started off in Osceola, Arkansas for Moondog Spot, and then Dave Milliken was running AWA Brighton on Saturday nights, and we was working each other there. And it was just, like I said, just everyone was turned around. We got tired of it, and we asked Donnie one night when we was going to Coldwater, hugging each other, we were like, God bless, we're going to start working some other people. So,
we did the same thing. I mean, I had 4 guys that, we just pretty much at first for a couple of months there when they first got started, I had them just working each other, would present a tag team and have them because they trained together, they were so familiar, and I really wanted it because I wanted the fans to have a good match instead of it just looking like 4 green guys in there. And that's why they do stuff like that. You guys together for so long because they knew y'all was going to have a good match. And so when did you think that you started learning? I know you said you started in Batesville and it got going, but when did you start learning how long did it take you to say, "Oh, I'm understanding the psychology of coming in and out of heat and listening to the crowd"? And how long of a seasoned vet are you when you start deciding what the hell's going on?
Honestly, for me, I'm a little slow from Louisiana, so it was probably 3.5 years in for me. I kind of understood the concept of everything. I worked babyface, so I depended on a lot of the heels that I had the opportunity to work with to really kind of mold me and kind of show me the ways of going about things. Like I said, I had an angle with Randy Rocket who I learned a lot from, working with Motley. They would tell, all right, fire up, kid, go ahead, stay hot, and then and then they would know when to slow it down, and just slowly it just started absorbing in me, and then finally, then I was able to start calling stuff, and when I was working newer guys, I could tell them, all right, kid, I'm fixing to shine, all right, now get your heat, come on, let's get it. And but it took me about 3.5 years to really understand the concept of what, the psychology, and understand what needed to be done and how to get it done the right way without trying to get what they say cheap heat,
Right.
Cheap
Yeah,
pop.
it does. It's not. I remember somebody telling me that it took a lot of guys up to 5 years to do it. There's so much stuff that you can watch now, on the network and YouTube that makes it easier for guys just starting in the business to learn psychology a lot quicker. But I did a lot of that outside the ring. On those 4 guys that I managed, I would always tell them when to do the hot tag and stuff like that. So that was the fun part for me, and it did take them a while before they were actually understanding when you're supposed to do everything. So tell me how the process of working for now my friend Randy Hills, he used to hate me, but he likes me now, so we're friends. I can actually text him now and talk to him. How did you start working for Randy and Power Pro? And that's when, as a fan, I become a fan of Blade Boudreaux because of Power Pro Wrestling.
As Derek and I was, like I said, we was on tour, I guess making the towns. We haven't been riding with Bill Dundee a lot. Superstar was another one who taught us a lot. A lot of the psychology. We'd pick his brain when we'd leave towns and riding to the next one, or picking him up or riding with him, or however we did it. We was working on a casino show. He got us booked. Randy Hales happened to be there. The King happened to be there, Jerry Lawler. And they said they were fixing to start up Power Pro, and we kind of got told, asked to be at TV that Saturday, and it just kind of blossomed. I mean, we had the opportunity to be able to showcase ourselves in front of Memphis. Like I said, I grew up on the Mid-South. I didn't get familiar with – I was familiar with them through magazines and some occasional tape trading that I did. So as I started looking into the history and seeing it while I was training and living with Donnie and seeing all the memorabilia he had and the programs, I started learning the history of Memphis and realizing they were just as good as Mid-South was. Fortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to work for Mid-South, but I did have the opportunity to work for Randy Hales, and Power Pro gave me the opportunity to work with them, which was another, ended up being another, bucket list item, in my life was to work Memphis, work the Coliseum, and work on Channel 5 TV. Randy gave us the platform. Unfortunately, and I can see this now, 20 years later, I probably wasn't as vocal back then as I probably should have been. But I was given the opportunity, had some great programs, some great matches on TV with all the people. I developed, the character, carrying the alligator head to the ring, wearing the ripped jeans. Terry Golden was actually the one that came up with that idea.
Oh, come on, Blade. Don't give credit to him. That's the way because you're from Louisiana. That's what you do anyway. There's an alligator. No, I'm just
kidding.
I mean,
we do that, but back then, it was, like you say, you was in tights and things like that.
Right, yeah.
It was a character thing, and, I was working in for David Milligan, and they wrote me off the show for a couple of months, and me and Terry talked about it. He goes, "You need to go home, do this, and this," and I did. And from there it got over. I can't tell you. Still today, I love running around and chasing the kids with my alligator head. It's a lot of fun. And in some areas, here in Louisiana, it's not as over as it is up there because it's common for us to see alligators and things like that. But in other areas, it's a big joy to do that for the kids and, let them interact and let them hold it. And it's a great deal for me to get my interaction as a baby face with and connect with the people.
I always thought, when it came to you guys, the Power Pro guys, and I mentioned this to Randy, and he said that, it wasn't really something that the older guys wanted, that they still didn't want to put the younger guys over, which I could probably spend 30 minutes bitching about that. But that's what I loved about Power Pro, and I think I've always thought Power Pro was also Memphis Wrestling, but kind of like this is time for the young guys, and it was you, it was Alan Steele, it was Derek King, Kid Wicked, those guys were people. I think Brian Christopher, all that stuff was just like, oh man, I love this, and then Cornette came in and all that stuff. Of all the guys, and we already mentioned Alan, we mentioned Derek, you guys worked a lot, and we mentioned Motley. What about some of these guys that worked, Dyersburg, Gibson, I'm thinking of a guy like Austin Rhodes, who you guys worked, who was really good, and just some of those guys like Wild Bill. Who's some of those guys that you can think about that you think, man, they should have got a bigger break, or that we should be talking about them more?
Years ago, I can say this, that, and I think he got somewhat of a little bit of a push. He came in with that Miles Long gimmick, Trey Keller, may he rest in peace. He was somebody that, really had a good build to him. He had a good character. He understood getting into a character. I had some great matches with Trey. For me, you mentioned the Dyersburg area, man. I can't tell you how many times.
Let me just say this about Trey. Fantastic. He was so good with psychology. He taught my guys some stuff, in single matches that I couldn't teach them. They just couldn't. I couldn't do it. And he explained it a lot easier, and then called it as they were going. Just a fantastic. That's a great name, man. If I wish he was still with us, but he was one of those guys that should have been a big WWE star. So,
there's a couple of tag teams that they were tag teams, and I've worked with them in tags and individuals. Naughty by Nature. At the time it was Rude, Tully, and Poker Face, and I had matches with all of them. I think me and Rude probably clicked the most in the ring. Another one's the Missouri Bad Boys at the time. Back then, I understand there's some heat now, but back then, Joey, Mark, and Forrest, man, they were good. They were good at getting heat and getting things over. I had great matches with all of them individually, and I had great stuff with them as a tag. Dog Reigns.
Oh yeah. Also, yeah, really good worker. Yeah.
I work with so many guys. That,
we don't want to forget nobody, but
good workers.
Those are the guys that you are right about, Naughty by Nature, and it's really weird about the Missouri Bad Boys. We interviewed Mark, and Mark does advertising for us, and we talked to him a lot. Forrest we don't talk to him a lot, but we did an interview with him, and I've got history with Forrest. Just those guys, and if you're not from this area, they were the true outlaws. They never got any push on Memphis TV or anything like that. But they had the heat, and we talked about PC being politically correct. Some of the stuff that Forrest would tell people he couldn't tell these days, but just awesome. Great names to bring up, and I'm huge. Always was a huge Naughty by Nature mark. I remember being in Gibson, and I was backstage, and the crowd was chanting, and I never remember what that chant is, but they had some kind of chant that they chanted. There was like 3 or 4 of them. They were like the biggest Naughty by Nature marks ever, and they would do this chant, and I thought, man, they are over, and we want to work with them. And that's what, we ended up doing a few programs with them, and just fun guys, so professional. And like you said, they poker's still working to the day, and probably one of those guys that all those guys should have made it. So we've had them all on except I haven't had Tully on, but I've had Root and Poker. So, all right, man. We're running out of time. I want to thank you. I love talking about Power Pro, and I know you had a great time working in this area. You're back home, and I'm good for that, because being back home makes you. I'm in St. Louis now, and I'm headed back to the Arkansas, Missouri area in a few months, and I'm all excited about it. What I want you to do before I do my crazy catchphrase is put your shit over. Where can people actually follow Blade Boudreaux?
On Twitter, I'm at Blade_Boudreaux. On Facebook, I'm actually under my shoot name, Numa Blanchard. Reach out to me. Always a pleasure. I'm still working for SWA Promotions out of Hattiesburg for promoter Steve Starr, who's got a great list of talent. One of the guys from North Mississippi area that actually I'm having issues with right now is old Barry Wolf. He's on these shows, him and Lucas Frost, and we got some scores that we're trying to settle with them. But I love my time up there. I miss my time up there. I had a great time in the Memphis area. I miss it sometimes. Every now and then I'll shoot Rude or I'll shoot Derek. It's just some random text just to touch base with him. Alan Steele don't want to admit it. I'm gonna say this since I'm the guest on this one. Alan Steele is still not my number one fan, so I want to put that out there for everybody. So he'll get a pop out of that one.
Yes. Alan is
great times.
He was just a fantastic worker, one of those guys. And when I had him on here, we talked about things that he actually said to me when I was doing the kayfabe site. He was like one of the only guys that got what I was doing, and then he would try to expose me and say, it don't matter what BT says. And I'm like, Alan, don't say that. Don't let them think that it matters. What the hell? All right, guys. Thank you, Blade, for joining us. Thank you guys for listening. Same bad time, same bad channel on the best little wrestling podcast in the business. Be there. And as you know, Blade, do you know this? I love my mama.
Me too.
If you're like me and have never used skincare products before, I recommend starting with Tej Hanley's Skincare System Level 1. It gives you all the basics that every man needs to look and feel amazing. The best part is that it's only $25, and with our discount, it's only $20 to get started. Guys, I use all the products that we advertise here on Shooting the Shiznit, and I have never used a skincare system where you're using it every day, doing exactly what they say. It's amazing. It really is. Before I started using this, I'll admit, I wasn't convinced that, you got products like this, that they actually work, or that you see them. You can see the results as soon as you put them on, or a few days you can actually see the results. I'm absolutely sold. I don't think I can go back without using this skincare system. You can go to tinyurl.com/STS Skincare. That's STS Skincare. Use the promo code right there, Shooting the Shiznit. That's SHOOTIN, the Shiznit. That's right, guys. Tell them we sent you here at STS.
Hanky's Toys is the place for your adult toys. All toys sold on this site are made of the finest 100% platinum silicone. From the texture, firmness, length, and width, Hanky's toys are designed to please. Hanky's Toys takes a lot of time and effort to develop each toy. Reach them on Twitter at Hanky's Toys. Search YouTube Hanky's Toys and see the unboxing of many of their products. Also go to www.mrhankystoys.com. That's right, mrhankystoys.com, and use promo code SHIZNIT10 at checkout for 10% off your order.
Graphic design is very important. Your logo is the first image potential customers see. What kind of impression would you want to make today? Need a podcast logo or a t-shirt design? KT does art. Her name has become synonymous with quality and professionalism in the graphic design community. She specializes in graphic design, painting, and more. She provides affordable commissions and professional quality with a timely delivery. Contact KT via email at kt_doesart@yahoo.com. Check out her Instagram at instagram.com/kt_doesart.
That was another great episode of Shooting the Shiznit. Looking for contestants for Who Wants to Be the Best Shiznitter Ever? That's right, contact me and be a contestant on Who Wants to Be the Best Shiznitter Ever. A big shout out to our sponsors this month. Also, remember, we have a Patreon for only $1. That's patreon.com, Shooting the Shiznit without the G. A special thanks to Bob McGee at Pro Wrestling's Between the Sheets, Gene Jackson at LocalsToLegends.com, and Sean Garmer at Wrestling to Max website. You can reach me on Comic Book Mark BT on Twitter, at BT Shooting the Shiznit on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook with a Shooting the Shiznit Facebook page. We have the Cool Kids Wrestling and MMA Talk Facebook group. If we don't like you, we'll kick you out, but you also have to ask to get in. All the archives are at www.stspod.club. You can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Player FM, Podcast Addict, Spreaker, Spotify, and all the fine podcast players. Podcast Roll Call. A big shout out to Creative Control. Keeping it 100. Memphis Memories with Randy Hales and my buddies over there at P3 Radio, Max and Josh. Also, non-wrestling podcasts I listen to, Who's Right Podcast and Po Boys. Guys, I am Brian Trammell. Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.